The haunting melody drifted through the hotel lobby, stopping Eliza Morgan mid-stride. 20 years melted away in an instant as the notes wrapped around her heart like an old friend returning home. How could this be? That song, their song, had never been recorded, never been shared. Yet here it was, floating through the air of a five-star hotel in Chicago, played by hands that seemed to know every emotion hidden between the notes. If you're touched by this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt stories that remind us how music connects souls across time and circumstance. Michael Bennett's fingers moved across the piano keys with practiced ease, his eyes half closed as he played from memory. The lobby gig at the Lakefront Grand wasn't glamorous, but it paid well enough to cover another month of his daughter Lily's medical bills. At 42, he'd long ago abandoned dreams of musical stardom, settling instead for the quiet pride of being the best father he could be to his 12-year-old daughter. He didn't notice the tall woman in the charcoal business suit who had frozen by the entrance, her briefcase slipping from suddenly numb fingers. Eliza couldn't move. The melody pulled her back to a summer 20 years ago, to a small music room at Westlake University where a boy with tousled brown hair and eyes that crinkled when he smiled had first played this song for her. "I call it, Eliza's Dawn," he'd said shyly. "Because meeting you was like watching the sun rise for the first time." That boy, James, had been her first love, her almost forever, until life and ambition had pulled them in different directions. Now, as CEO of Morgan Enterprises, Eliza had everything she'd ever worked for: success, respect, wealth. Everything except the one person who had seen her soul before seeing her potential. She forced herself to breathe, to walk forward on trembling legs. The pianist wasn't James. This man was older, with streaks of gray at his temples and lines of worry etched around his eyes. But the way his hands moved over the keys, the slight tilt of his head as he reached the bridge of the melody. "Excuse me," she said, her voice barely audible over the music. "That song, where did you learn it?" Michael looked up, startled by the interruption. The woman standing before him was clearly someone important. Her tailored suit probably cost more than his monthly salary, and her posture spoke of someone accustomed to command. But it was the look in her eyes that caught him off guard, a mixture of shock, hope, and something like fear. "I wrote it," he said simply. "A long time ago." Eliza's world tilted. "James," she whispered. The pianist's hands stilled on the keys. No one had called him James in years, not since he'd started using his middle name after the accident that had claimed his music career and his wife, leaving him to raise Lily alone. "Eliza?" His voice cracked on the second syllable. The hotel lobby disappeared around them as 2 decades of separation collapsed into a single moment of recognition. "I don't understand," Eliza said later, sitting across from Michael in the hotel's quiet cafe. "Your name, your face, you look so different." Michael ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made Eliza's heart ache. "After the accident, I needed a fresh start. The doctor said I'd never play professionally again, the nerve damage was too severe." He flexed his left hand, and Eliza noticed the slight tremor. "I became Michael Bennett instead of James Michael Bennett. It was easier that way." "And the song? Our song?" A small smile touched his lips. "Some things you never forget, no matter how hard you try." Eliza looked down at her coffee. "I searched for you, you know. After I graduated. But it was like you'd vanished." "I wanted to disappear," Michael admitted. "I was angry, broken. Not the person you knew. Not someone worthy of finding." "That wasn't your decision to make," Eliza said softly, the old hurt rising to the surface. Before Michael could respond, his phone buzzed. The worry that flashed across his face was immediate and visceral. "My daughter," he explained, answering quickly. "Lily? Is everything okay?" Eliza watched as his expression shifted from concern to relief, then to something more complicated. "I'll be home soon, sweetheart. Take your medicine and rest." He hung up, his eyes apologetic. I'm sorry, I need to go. Lily has cystic fibrosis. Her caregiver needs to leave early today. Eliza felt a pang of sympathy. Of course. I understand. As Michael stood to leave, Eliza made a split-second decision. Wait. Here's my card. Maybe we could talk again? Michael hesitated before taking it, his fingers brushing against hers. I'm not the same person you knew, Eliza. Neither am I, she replied. But I'd like to know who you are now. Eliza couldn't focus on work the next day. The quarterly reports blurred before her eyes as the melody of Eliza's Dawn played on repeat in her mind. She'd built her life around certainties, around control and clear objectives. Finding James, Michael, had thrown everything into chaos. Her assistant knocked on her office door. Ms. Morgan? There's a call for you on line 1. A Mr. Bennett. Eliza's heart leapt. Thank you, Sarah. I'll take it. Michael's voice was hesitant. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. Nothing that can't wait, Eliza assured him, though her calendar was packed with meetings. How's Lily? Better today. Listen, I was wondering if you might want to come to dinner. At our place. It's nothing fancy, but Lily's curious about you. You told her about me? Michael laughed softly. She's 12 going on 30. She took one look at me when I got home yesterday and said, Dad, you either got fired or fell in love. Which is it? Eliza found herself smiling. I'd love to meet her. The Bennett apartment was modest but warm, filled with books, music, and photographs. Lily Bennett had her father's eyes and a quiet intensity that belied her young age. She studied Eliza with undisguised curiosity. So you're the girl from the song, Lily said as they sat down to dinner. Eliza glanced at Michael, who was busy serving pasta. I suppose I am. Dad plays it when he thinks I'm asleep, Lily continued matter-of-factly. Usually on bad days. Lily, Michael warned gently. It's okay, Eliza said. I'd like to hear about your bad days. And your good ones. Over dinner, Eliza learned about their life. Michael's struggle to balance work and Lily's care, the mounting medical bills, the piano lessons he gave on weekends to make ends meet. Lily's dream of becoming a marine biologist despite her illness. The small victories and daily challenges. When Lily excused herself to take her evening medications, Eliza turned to Michael. Why didn't you tell me how difficult things have been? Michael shrugged. What would be the point? You have your life, Eliza. A successful one, from what I can see. That doesn't mean I wouldn't have wanted to help. I didn't want your help, Michael said quietly. I wanted. He trailed off, looking away. What? Eliza pressed. It doesn't matter now. It was a long time ago. But it did matter, Eliza realized. It mattered more than quarterly reports or board meetings or the corner office with a view of the city. It mattered more than 20 years of carefully constructed success. Over the next few weeks, Eliza found herself drawn more and more into Michael and Lily's world. She rearranged meetings to attend Lily's pulmonary therapy sessions. She sat in Michael's small living room as he gave piano lessons, watching his patients with struggling students. She learned the rhythm of their lives, the medications, the breathing treatments, the careful balance of normalcy and vigilance. And in quiet moments, when Lily was asleep, Michael would play for her. Sometimes, Eliza's Dawn, sometimes new compositions that spoke of years of joy and pain she hadn't shared. Why did you never record your music? She asked one evening. Michael's hands stilled on the keys. After the accident, I couldn't play the way I used to. The pieces I'd written for professional performance were beyond me. And then Sarah got sick, and after she died, music became functional. A way to pay bills. But these new pieces, they're beautiful. They're private, Michael said. Or they were. Eliza placed her hand over his. The world should hear them, James. He looked up at the use of his first name. I'm not that person anymore. Yes, you are, Eliza insisted. You're still the boy who wrote me a song at 19. You're still the musician who could make people feel everything he felt. You've just added more to who you are, father, survivor, teacher. Michael turned his hand to hold hers. And who are you now, Eliza Morgan, CEO? The question caught her off guard. Who was she? The ambitious girl who'd left love behind for a career? The woman who'd achieved everything she'd set out to do, only to find herself alone at the summit? I'm still figuring that out, she admitted. The crisis came on a rainy Tuesday. Eliza was in a board meeting when her phone vibrated with Michael's name. She excused herself immediately. Lily's in the hospital, Michael's voice was tight with fear. Her lungs, it's bad this time. Which hospital? Eliza was already grabbing her coat, signaling to her assistant. Mercy General. Eliza, I'm on my way. She found Michael in the pediatric ICU waiting room, his face gray with exhaustion and worry. He stood when he saw her, and without thinking, she wrapped her arms around him. He clung to her like a drowning man. The doctors say she needs a specialized treatment, he murmured against her hair. It's experimental, not covered by insurance. I don't know how I'm going to. Don't worry about that now, Eliza said firmly. Let's focus on getting her better. Over the next 3 days, Eliza never left the hospital. She worked remotely, made calls, arranged for the best specialists to consult on Lily's case. She sat with Michael through the night, holding his hand as they watched Lily breathe with the help of machines. On the 4th day, when Lily was finally stable enough to be moved out of intensive care, Michael found Eliza speaking quietly with the hospital administrator. What's going on? He asked. Eliza turned, looking slightly guilty. I was just arranging for Lily's treatment. Michael's expression hardened. What does that mean, exactly? The experimental therapy her doctor mentioned, I've set it up. And I've established a fund for her ongoing care. I can't accept that, Michael said immediately. James. No. His voice was firm. I appreciate everything you've done, Eliza. But I can't take your money. It's not about money, Eliza argued. It's about Lily. It's about me being able to take care of my own daughter, Michael countered. About maintaining some dignity in all this. Eliza felt frustration rise within her. This isn't about your pride. This is about giving Lily the best chance. And you think I haven't been doing that for 12 years? Michael's voice rose slightly. You think because you can write a check, you know what's best for her? That's not what I meant. Isn't it? Michael ran a hand through his hair. You've been back in my life for a month, Eliza. You don't get to swoop in and fix everything. The words stung more than Eliza expected. I was trying to help. I know, Michael said, his voice softening. But help doesn't always look like taking control. Sometimes it's just being there. Eliza stepped back, realizing her mistake. In her corporate world, problems were things to be solved efficiently, decisively. But this wasn't a business challenge, this was Michael's life, his child, his journey. I'm sorry, she said quietly. You're right. I overstepped. Michael's expression gentled. No, I'm sorry. I'm tired and scared, and I took it out on you. He reached for her hand. Stay. Just, as yourself. Not as CEO Eliza Morgan. It was the hardest thing she'd ever done, to sit beside him and simply wait, to offer support without solutions, to be present without taking charge. But as the days passed and Lily slowly improved, Eliza found a different kind of strength in this new role. When Lily was finally released from the hospital, Eliza took a step back, giving Michael and his daughter space to recover and adjust. But she couldn't stop thinking about them, about the precariousness of their situation, about Michael's music that remained unheard, about the life that might have been. An idea began to form in her mind, not a solution imposed from above, but an opportunity offered with respect. She called Michael on a Sunday afternoon. "I have a proposition for you," she said. "A business one. Would you hear me out?" Michael agreed to meet her at a small cafe near his apartment. Eliza arrived with a folder and a nervous energy she rarely felt in business meetings. "Morgan Enterprises is launching a new division," she explained. "Morgan Arts Foundation. We'll be funding music education programs, supporting independent artists, producing recordings of new compositions." Michael listened carefully. "That sounds worthwhile. We need a creative director," Eliza continued. "Someone who understands both the artistic and practical sides of music. Someone who can identify talent and nurture it." She slid the folder across the table. "I'd like to offer you the position." Michael opened the folder, his eyes widening at the job description and salary. "Eliza, Before you say no," she interrupted, "this isn't charity. It's not even about us. I've heard you teach. I've seen how you work with young musicians. You have a gift for this, James. And yes, the salary would cover Lily's medical expenses, but you'd be earning it." "And my music?" he asked quietly. "That would be entirely up to you," Eliza said. "The foundation will have recording facilities, performance spaces. If you want to share your compositions, there would be a platform. If not, that's your choice." Michael was silent for a long moment. "Why are you doing this?" Eliza took a deep breath. "Because 20 years ago, I made a choice based on what I thought success looked like. I chose career over connection, achievement over love. And I've been successful, yes, but at a cost I didn't fully understand until I heard you play our song again." She reached across the table to take his hand. "I'm not trying to rewrite the past or buy a future. I'm trying to create something meaningful that honors who we both are now. Something that might help others find their music when they think it's lost." Michael looked down at their joined hands. "I need to think about it. Talk to Lily." "Of course," Eliza nodded. "Take all the time you need." A week later, Michael called. "Lily and I have talked it over," he said. "I'd like to accept the position, with one condition." "Name it," Eliza said. "That you let me take you to dinner. Not as a potential employer or an old flame or a benefactor. Just as Eliza." Eliza felt a smile spread across her face. "I think I'd like that very much." 6 months later, the Morgan Arts Foundation hosted its inaugural concert. The program featured compositions from emerging artists discovered through the foundation's outreach programs, performed by a mixture of professional musicians and gifted students. The final piece of the evening was announced simply as Eliza's Dawn, reprise, composer James Michael Bennett. As Michael took his place at the grand piano, he glanced toward the wings where Eliza stood watching, her eyes bright with unshed tears. Lily sat in the front row, her breathing treatments completed earlier so she could stay for the entire performance. The familiar melody began, but this time with new depths, new harmonies that spoke of loss and rediscovery, of pain and healing, of a love interrupted but never truly ended. As the final notes faded, Michael stood and walked to the microphone. 20 years ago, I wrote a song for someone who saw possibility in me before I saw it in myself. Life took us in different directions, but the music remained. This foundation exists because sometimes we need a second chance to hear the melodies that have been playing all along. He extended his hand toward the wings, and after a moment's hesitation, Eliza stepped onto the stage. The applause washed over them as their fingers intertwined. Later that night, as they stood on L.